Hello guys, we are back in new fanfic, and if enjoying this then please share and like part 1. Now let's start the fanfic. The clone of the third Hokage looked his creator in the eye. If I know you and I think I do, you've beating yourself over not being able to protect him. Don't worry, I'll do what you couldn't, he said. The original Sarutobi just looked at his clone and nodded his head gratefully. I think it's time we leave, said the first Hokage. Where do we go? We can't possibly train the kid in the village, stated Tobirama. The Whirlpool Village, said the fourth. It has been abandoned for years. No one would think to look for anyone there, and from what Kushina told me of it, it's a solitary island surrounded by whirlpools, so it's very isolated. We could get some serious training done with minimum interruptions. As he spoke, he made his way over to the couch Naruto rested on and gently lifted him in his arms. I have some weapons stashed in my head on the Hokage monument. I'll pick them up and meet you all at the border of Fire Country and Water Country in 3 hours. Sound good? We all should have similar stashes, and it would be better if we split up in case we're spotted. I'll see you in 3 hours, said the clone of the third. He disappeared in a leaf shunsen. When the clone of the third left, the clone of the fourth disappeared in a flash of yellow with the still sleeping Naruto in his arms. Well, I guess this is goodbye again, monkey brat. Next time you see that kid, he'll be able to go toe to toe with your best without breaking a sweat, guaranteed, said the clone of the second before he disappeared in a water shunsen. I can tell your will of fire, dim Saru, but with this act you are stoking it to an inferno. Goodbye, my student, said the clone of first before he simply melded into the floor and was gone. Sighing, the Hokage moved to the window overlooking the village, wondering what the future would bring to his village. 1 week later, Uzushiogakure, currently a 6-year-old Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, was in an open grass area in front of his 4 senseis about to begin his training in the ninja arts. He was wearing simple loose-fitting black pants, gray kimono top with a mesh armor shirt beneath it with a black sash holding the kimono together, and black shinobi sandals. He was standing at attention, hands at his sides, eyes forward, waiting for his senseis to begin explaining his training. He didn't have to wait long because the first Hokage stepped forward and began. Well, Naruto, I'm glad to see you're mentally ready to begin training. The coming years will be difficult. We intend to train you until you die and drop, and then we will resurrect you and rain you some more, he said, looking his student in the eye. We are masters of the shinobi arts, you are the student. It is our job to teach you and it is your job to learn, he said in a stern but kindly tone. Are you ready to begin? Yes, Hashirama sensei, Naruto said quickly. I need a drink, was the utmost thought of one Naruto Namikaze as he walked down the street towards a bar in Otofuku-gai. It's been 10 years since he began his tortious training in the shinobi arts. 9 years of training under his senseis and 1 year of real-world experience as a bounty hunter known only as Arashi. Naruto was now 6 feet 1 inch tall, chiseled, medium-build body. His blonde hair that was in his youth short and spiky was now cornrowed towards the back of his head, and the end of which reached between his shoulder blades, in a face mask that covered everything from his nose to his throat. He was wearing a green camouflage flak jacket with a black t-shirt underneath. Over the flak jacket he wore a black sleeveless leather trench coat, and both his arms were wrapped in black athletic tape from elbow to wrist, and on his hands were black fingerless gloves. He was also wearing Anbu-style pants with gray shin guards over black shinobi sandals. I need that drink, and I need it now, Naruto thought with some urgency. The reason he was in need of a drink was because tomorrow he was going back to the village of his birth and offer his services as a shinobi. He promised his senseis he would give the village a chance to redeem themselves after what they did to him. He hasn't forgotten his earlier childhood, and he damn sure hasn't forgiven the people who tormented him. Naruto hastened his steps towards the bar so he could try and drown out the feeling of impending doom the thought of going back to the hidden leaf had created. When Naruto entered the tavern, he headed straight for the bar and a bottle of sake. Bar, keep a bottle of sake over here, he said to the man behind the counter. You old enough to be in here, son? The man asked. Look, don't give me a hard time. If I can't hold my liquor, then I shouldn't be drinking and I would deserve whatever I got, Just give me the damn bottle, he said sharply. Whatever, I'm not responsible just because you wanted to play grown up, he said, sitting down a bottle of sake and a saucer. Yeah, Naruto said, foregoing the saucer and drinking straight from the bottle. After downing half the bottle, Naruto felt his nerves equalize again. Scanning the bar, he let his eyes drift over the other patrons. It was just the usual assortment of people found in the less reputable bars in every town. Drunks, hookers, small-time crooks, no one worth the hassle of getting in a fight with. He was about to turn back to his bottle when his eyes pierced the darkness of a corner table and he spotted a woman about 25 years old nursing a saucer of sake. She is too pretty to drink alone, he said quietly to himself before he raised his voice to the barkeep. Another bottle over. After receiving another bottle, he made his way over to her table and stopped just before entering the shadows himself. Excuse me, miss, but you are way too pretty to be drinking alone, he said. The woman looked up from her saucer and stared at him with a pair of hypnotic dark eyes. I bet you say that to all the girls in dive bars like this, she said mockingly. There's never any one of your caliber of pretty in dive bars like this. I guess I just lucked out. May I join you? Sure. I wouldn't mind the company, she said with a small smile. How about a refill? He asked, holding up the sake bottle. In response, she just slid her saucer closer to him. After pouring himself a saucer full, he held it up out toward the woman across from him. To new acquaintances, he toasted. To new acquaintances, she said. Sighing, Naruto unhooked one of the pockets of his flak jacket and retrieved his bounty hunter's license to show to the guards. After both men looked over the ID and recorded the pertinent information, it was given back to him. All right, Arashi-san, head to the center of the village to the Hokage Tower, tall white building with a fire kanji on it. You'll find the Hokage on the top floor, said the bandana-wearing shinobi. Thank you, Naruto said and made his way into the village proper. He walked slowly, trying to take in his surroundings as well as sort out his feelings about being back. Let's see, there's anger at being back here, there's resentment for making the damn promise in the first place. There's also excitement about seeing the old man again, but there's no nostalgia. It's official, I did not miss this place, just one person in it, Naruto thought to himself. While Naruto was lost in his thoughts, he walked on autopilot to the tower and up the stairs, and before he knew it, he was in front of the Hokage's secretary. My name is Arashi, I have a priority bounty for the Hokage, he told the woman behind the desk. Please have a seat, I'll see if the Hokage can see you now, she said, and knocked on the Hokage's door before entering. She was back before he even had a chance to get comfortable. He can see you now, Arashi-san, can I get you some tea or coffee? She asked. No thank you, miss, he declined politely and walked past her to the office. When he entered, he was finally hit with a feeling of nostalgia. This was where it all changed for me, he thought, looking at the couch where he laid to recover from the beating of that night, to the center of the floor where his four senseis literally popped into his life. Moving his eyes to the only other visible presence in the office, he almost stopped dead in his tracks. It's almost like a time warp. The last time I saw this man, he was 30 years younger. What a mind. Arashi-san, I've heard about your exploits as a bounty hunter. I'm surprised to see someone so young with a reputation for always bringing in their target dead or alive. The old Kage said in a measured tone. I was told you have a priority bounty for me. Yes, sir, I do. Aside from that, I have other business I would like to speak with you about. First, let us get this out of the way, he said, unlocking a pocket on his flak jacket and letting a scroll with a red band around it slide into his palm. This is the head of Konoha missing ninja Aoi Rokusho, he said before retrieving another scroll from his pocket, this time a green one. As further proof, in this scroll is the sword of the thunder god, the Raijin. Sarutobi immediately opened the green scroll to verify that it was indeed the sword of his sensei Tobirama Senju. Making a discreet hand signal, an Anbu with a bear mask appeared next to the Hokage. Bear, take this scroll, he said, holding up the scroll with the red band. to Anbu HQ and have them verify the remains of Aoi Rokusho. Yes, sir, Lord Hokage, the bear Anbu said before leaving in a shunsen. The Hokage looked back to the young man standing at attention in front of him. That sword was worth 100 times more than Aoi Rokusho. You could have him and kept the sword, why turn it in? He asked suspiciously. Naruto was not at all offended by the question, having become used to no one trusting him, bounty hunters only being one step up from mercenaries. I have too much respect for the Senju clan to keep a family heirloom. And I really had no need of it, it's not my style. While we wait for confirmation, could we move on to that other business I spoke of? Raising a brow at the change of subject, Sarutobi didn't think it would hurt to hear the young man out. It man helped jog his memory about why this boy seemed so familiar. Yes, I don't see why not. Clearing his throat, Naruto said, well, what I have to say is sensitive information about myself. I would rather you be the only one to hear it for now, he said, making reference to the other hidden Anbu in the room. The old Kage nodded in agreement before signaling his Anbu to leave the room. So what is the business you wanted to discuss with me? He asked when they were alone. In response, Naruto simply pulled his face mask down and smiled at the way the old man's eyes bugged out. Well, I wanted to see about joining the village sensei. Oh, Kami, Naruto, he said in a whisper. Before we go any further, you should put up a security barrier. I don't want anything I'm about to say to get to the wrong people, Naruto said. Sarutobi quickly activated a security seal under his desk, and before Naruto had a chance to brace himself, he was picked up in a hug that could crush a tree trunk. Wheeze. Gigi can't breath. Naruto managed to get out before he could lose consciousness. Oh, I'm sorry, my boy, said Sarutobi, sitting Naruto back on his feet and stepping back only far enough to get a good look at him. It's just so good to see you again. Quite honestly, I never expected you to come back here after what was done to you, said the old Kage. I promised my senseis that I would give Konoha another chance. I was taught to forgive but never forget, he said solemnly. Sarutobi nodded his head in understanding. Speaking of your senseis, what happened to them after you finished training? What you would expect to happen when you have 4 warriors in their prime in one place. They decided to end their existence in a manner fitting them, a free-for-all Hokage battle royal, Naruto said with a smile. I didn't stick around to view the results. I have a feeling I would have been caught in the crossfire had I stayed. Sarutobi couldn't help but laugh at the prospect of going against both his senseis and Minato. I would be very surprised if Uzu is still standing after that battle. So tell me about your training, tell me about yourself. Both men moved back to their respective seats before Naruto outlined his training with the clones of previous Kages. Training was what you would expect under such strong men. Grueling, tortuous, I was trained to death and beyond, and every second of it was worth it. They trained me for 9 years, and for the past year I've been gaining real-world experience as a bounty hunter. Yes, as Arashi, as I've said before, you've quite the reputation for always bringing in your targets, the Hokage said, impressed with his skills. Yes, it was during my work as a bounty hunter that I came across some information that pushed me into the decision to come to Konoha earlier than I expected. He paused there and looked the old Kage in his eyes. Orochimaru is planning to invade your village during the last round of the Chunin exams when you host them this year, he said in a dead calm voice. Sarutobi was first startled by the look in Naruto's eyes. Must have put him through hell before he even left the island. He wasn't kidding when he said they trained him to death and beyond. How did you come across this information? He asked back in Hokage mode. Naruto sighed and sat back in his seat. I was passing through the land of rice a few months ago, when I heard rumors of a new shinobi village looking for soldiers. It's called the Village Hidden in the Sound, by the way. So I hung around to see what the place was about. Suffice it to say, when I found out that Orochimaru was the Hokage, I did not have a good feeling about the intentions of the village as a whole. The only reason I didn't hightail it straight away was because I wanted to first gather some information just in case I would need it later. They were prepping for something big. I was one of the low men on the totem pole, so I wasn't privy to sensitive information, but a couple of wannabe jonin who couldn't hold their liquor were. They told me they were prepping for an invasion of Konoha. Naruto stopped there to let what he said sink in. Sink in it did. Sarutobi's mind was going a mile a minute. Arrangements have to be made, a full council meeting to plan a counter-strike, provisions for civilians and find out where the hell Jiraiya is. He's supposed to be my spymaster, why didn't he know this? Sarutobi thought to himself. You okay over there, sensei? Because there is something else I want to get out of the way, it's about me joining the ranks. I know there is a law on the books that says as long as a citizen of Konoha was trained by a Chunin ranked or higher member of the ninja ranks, then with the approval of the Hokage and sensei they can skip the academy. That is exactly what I want to do. Naruto said. How did you know that? That law is as old as I am. You taught me, he said simply. I don't see a problem with that. Sending you to the academy would do more harm than good in your case. Is there anything else? Yeah, I'll be going by Arashi for the time being. I'm not ready to announce my return just yet. Like I said, I can forgive but I won't forget. I won't let an unprovoked attack go with serious repercussions either, he said in a cold voice to match his now ice-cold eyes. Very well. You will be under probation for at least a year to prove your loyalty. The reason for this is if you are not under probation, then the question becomes, what makes you so special to already have my trust? And I assume we want to avoid such questions. Would you like me to arrange a place for you live? He asked. That's okay, I can handle that myself. Quote, you know you will have the rank of Genin, and if you wish to be promoted then you will have to go through the Chunin and Jonin exams. Come to the missions office tomorrow 10 a.m. to receive your first mission. You'll either work solo or on an already established Genin team until I can find you something permanent. I'll see you tomorrow then, sensei, Naruto said, bowing to the Hokage and making his way towards the door. Arashi. Sarutobi spoke suddenly. You're going to need this. Naruto aka Arashi turned around and caught what was tossed to him, and it turned out to be a headband with the leaf symbol on it and a long black strap similar to the Hokage's own. Thanks, Gigi, Naruto said, smiling at the old man before he walked out. Outside on the streets. First order of business is to find some food. Let's see, what do I want? Ramen, barbecue, ramen, dango, ramen, sushi or ramen? Tough choice. He was brought out of his thoughts by someone saying his name. Arashi, is that you? A voice said just ahead of him. Asuma. He asked, surprised to see the bearded chain smoker here. Asuma Sarutobi was a man he had met when he first started out in the bounty hunter business. Back then he looked kind of like a bum compared to the clean look he had now. He was wearing a standard Konoha outfit with a sash with the kanji for fire on it at his waist. Well, never expected to meet you in Konoha of all places. You here for work? He asked while blowing out smoke from the side of his mouth. Actually, yeah, I am. I'm also here to join the ranks, he said, holding up his new headband. Well, that calls for a welcoming drink. I'm buying. I won't be turning down a free drink. Come on, I know a place that's close by, Asuma said, leading the way past a few food stalls. It was a silent 5-minute walk before they came to a bar called the Wet Leaf. It was a shinobi hangout, a place much like the dive bars he was used to hanging out in. It was a place where if you mind your manners and your own business you could have a good time. They got a couple of bottles of sake and were about to choose a table before Asuma saw some people he knew. You mind if we join some friends of mine? He asked. Not at all. Lead the way. Asuma made his way to a table in the back corner of the room. At the table were 3 people that Naruto knew on sight. He never met them but knows their faces from various bingo books. Hey guys, this is Arashi. Arashi, let me introduce. He was interrupted before he could continue. No need to introduce these people. This is Kurenai Uehi, Genjutsu specialist. She has a $5 million bounty in the Hidden Grass Village for castrating one of their top-ranking Jonin. Next to her is Anko Mitarashi, wanted in the Hidden Rock Village, 10 million alive and 5 million dead, snake summoner, poison and interrogation specialist, approach with extreme caution. Copycat Kakashi Hataki, ninjutsu specialist said to have copied 1,000 jutsu, extremely intelligent and has a bounty in Kumo for $15 million for his participation in the last war and wanted in the Hidden Rock for $50 million for his participation in the war and also for being a student of the 4th Hokage. Man, Asuma, you keep some pretty famous and dangerous company, Naruto said, chuckling. His recitation of their bounty sheets got a reaction out of all three at the table. Anko smirked at hearing the price on her head. Ha 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 ha, any job worth doing is worth doing right, she said, raising a cup of sake to her lips. I only wished I hadn't cut his balls off so quick. The next time I'll heat up a rusty, dull knife and then cut someone's balls off, Kurenai said with ice in her voice. Kakashi simply lowered his book, which was a big tell if you knew the man. Who's your friend Asuma? He seems to know us quite well. Kakashi asked nonchalantly. I'm Arashi. I was a bounty hunter up until about 20 minutes ago when I joined the Hidden Leaf. It was part of my job to remember notable bounties, Naruto said, shrugging away the question. So you're new in town, huh? How do you like it so far? Asked Anko. Naruto looked her in the eye. Well, I've only been in town a short while, but everything I've laid my eyes on is absolutely breathtaking, he said, making Anko blush slightly. Arashi. As in the bounty hunter. I've heard of you, they call you the perfect storm, because of your perfect bounty record, Kakashi said, jumping into the conversation. Chuckling sheepishly, Naruto scratched the back of his head and I smiled to the people at the table. I'd rather have a much cooler name than Perfect Storm. With that kind of name there's a lot of pressure to succeed, he said, looking off in the distance as if seeing the future. What happens when I fail? I'll be mocked and ridiculed, then I'll start drinking heavily to hide the hurt, and when booze doesn't work I'll turn to drugs, my job performance will steadily decline and I'll get ridiculed even more. When the booze and drugs refuse to work I'll turn to women to help hide the pain in a few hours of mutual ecstasy. That will last a few years until the right woman comes along and sets me back on the right path, only for an old enemy to surface in her in an act of revenge. We clash in a battle of epic proportions, and when the dust is cleared only the body of my enemy is left behind while I disappear never to be seen again, he said, rain clouds forming over his head. I should go find the bastard who gave me that nickname, he ruined my life. The others were stuck with their mouths open and sweat drops in the back of their heads for his rant that came out of nowhere. Asuma coughed lightly to break the silence. Anyway, I met Arashi in the capital when I was still a guardian. We hung out when he was in town. So why did you decide to join Konoha? I thought you were happy bounty hunting. I was happy, but I figured I could be a better service to the Land of Fire in a more direct way as an official shinobi, Naruto explained. So where in the Land of Fire were you born? Kurenai asked. Oh, just outside of Konoha. Not very far really, he said vaguely. Technically true, he was born outside of the village walls, so what's there fun to do around here? I officially start my shinobi career tomorrow, so I want to have some fun before I'm on call 24/7. Well, I know of a couple of places we could go to, but I have serious doubts about you keeping up with the adults, Anko said. That sounds like a challenge to me, Naruto said, standing and leaning over the table directly in her face. That was definitely a challenge, Blondie. I could drink you under the table in an hour, she said, raising a sake bottle up and toasting Naruto. Bottoms up, brat, she said, chugging from the bottle. Naruto picked up his own bottle. Yours will be by the end of the night, he said, smirking and taking a drink. Anko starting choking on her drink. I wonder, Anko, are you blushing or is that red on your face from almost choking to death? Kakashi asked casually, only to crash face first into the table from a punch to the head from said red-faced girl. Barkeep 10 bottles of your best sake. Loser pays the tab, Anko challenged. It was a tense group of 5 people making their way out of a rowboat onto the main island of Wave Country. Knowing they could be attacked at any moment by someone of Zabuza's caliber had everyone on full alert throughout their travels. The group had resumed the diamond formation with Arashi and Kakashi switching positions, with Kakashi on point and Arashi watching everyone's back. It was a silent walk. Even Sakura kept her silence after the ordeal with the demon brothers. A rustle in the bushes to the right of the formation had everyone tensing even further, ready for whatever was to come next. Sasuke was the first to react, launching a kunai in the direction of the noise. Arashi, check it out, Kakashi ordered. Summoning a kunai from the storage seal on the palm side of his right-hand glove, Arashi approached the bush cautiously. Looking beyond the bush, Arashi relaxed slightly as he saw the kunai stuck in a tree just above the head of a scared white rabbit. He picked up the rabbit and kunai and went back to the group. Just a rabbit. Here's your kunai, he said, handing the weapon back to Sasuke, who put it away without a word. The fur of the rabbit is all wrong for this time of year. It should have a brown coat. This animal was raised indoors. As soon as Kakashi finished speaking, a very audible whistle could be heard. Get down! Kakashi screamed before dragging Tazuna to the ground with him. In a blur of motion, a massive sword flew over their heads and embedded itself in a tree on the other side of the road they were traveling on. A moment after the sword was lodged in the tree, a figure appeared on the handle. He was fairly tall, muscular man with pale skin, short spiky black hair, brown eyes and almost non-existent eyebrows. White bandages covered the lower half of his face and he had a headband turned sideways on his head. He had no shirt on, just a thick leather strap, most likely used to carry his massive zanbanto. He also had on baggy striped pants, arm and leg warmers. Well, if it isn't copycat Kakashi. When I saw you I knew why the demon brothers failed. I'm surprised to see you toting these 3 brats along with you, the still unnamed swordsman said mockingly. Zabuza Momochi, demon of the bloody mist, to be honest with you, the only thing I did to the demon brothers was tie them up, these 2 brats as you call them, he said, gesturing towards Arashi and Sasuke. Took care of them like they were academy students, Kakashi said back smugly. Zabuza narrowed his eyes on first Sasuke and then Arashi before dismissing them. HMPF. Don't make me laugh, Kakashi. Why don't you hand over the old man and I'll do you the favor of letting your students leave with their lives. Sasuke was clenching and unclenching his fists in anger, first at the meaningless talk going on between the two and then at being so casually dismissed. Who the hell does this guy think he is? Doesn't he know I'm from the elite Uchiha clan? I'll show this bastard not to dismiss me. He was about to charge him when he was brought up short by Kakashi's voice. Stay in formation, Sasuke. He is beyond your skills at the moment, Kakashi said, never taking his eyes off Zabuza. The great Kakashi Hatake playing babysitter to a bunch of wet behind the ears twerps, how the mighty have fallen, Zabuza said. What about your own student Zabuza? Arashi asked, speaking for the first time since Zabuza's appearance. Zabuza's eyes widened in surprise briefly before he returned to a neutral expression. The shock was not missed by Arashi or Kakashi. What student are you talking about, boy? Zabuza asked in a condescending tone. The one who left the scent of medicinal herbs on the fur of this rabbit, he said, holding up the animal he hadn't let go since he picked it up. The same scent of medicinal herbs being carried on the wind in our direction from about 50 yards to our right, he said matter-of-factly. Zabuza was shocked that this brat had pinpointed Haku's position on scent alone. Who is this kid? If I can't fight him, his student will have to do, Sasuke thought before he took off into the trees in the direction Arashi had indicated his opponent would be in, ignoring Kakashi and Sakura's shouts. Stupid angst-ridden little bastard. If he survives all the little shit myself, Kakashi thought to himself. Chuckling to himself, Zabuza grabbed the rest of the group's attention. Don't worry, I doubt if he is outrighted. If you get past me you might have a chance to save him, so how about we get started? He said, disappearing from the tree with his sword and reappearing standing on a nearby river, already finishing a handseal hidden mist jutsu. After announcing his jutsu, a thick mist rolled in from the river and trees, completely obscuring everyone's view. Zabuza's voice was projected throughout the mist. 8 points on the human body that guarantees death: larynx, spine, lungs, liver, jugular, subclavian artery, kidneys and heart. Which one should I aim for? As he was naming the spots, he was also increasing his intent. By the time he got to the heart, Tazuna was sweating bullets and was moments from passing out. Sakura wasn't far behind him. I don't want to die. I can't take this, it feels like my lungs are about to explode. I have to end this now. With those frantic thoughts, Sakura reached for a kunai in her weapon's pouch ready to end her torment, when someone stayed her hand. She followed the gloved hand into the piercing blue eyes of Arashi. You can get through this, Sakura. The only way to countering intent is with some of your own. Imagine, Zabuza just said. Sasuke was gay. Arashi stepped back and nodded his head as a fire was lit in Sakura's eyes as she released enough intent to take her mind off herself. Good job, both of you. Now enough with the hide and seek, Zabuza, Kakashi said. You're right, that is enough because this game is over, Zabuza said, looming up behind Tazuna with his sword above his head about to bring it down on the startled bridge builder. You're finished, he said, bringing his weapon down. Squelch. Drip. 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 Water clone. Kakashi exclaimed as Arashi pulled Tazuna and Sakura out of the immediate area of combat so they wouldn't be caught in the crossfire. You didn't think it would that easy, did you, Kakashi? Zabuza said, appearing behind Kakashi, cutting him in half only for the body to disperse into water. What? He said, surprised before he stilled as he felt a knife at his throat. I didn't expect it to be easy, Zabuza, but apparently you did, Kakashi said, appearing behind the startled swordsman with his Sharingan eye exposed. Zabuza turned slightly to look at him. Ah, the Sharingan, you copied my jutsu even through the mist. I'm honored you have the need to use it. Good, you can take that honor with you to the afterlife, Kakashi said and stabbed Zabuza in the throat only for it to be another water clone. Zabuza came out of the foliage in a burst of speed, prepared to kick Kakashi into the river when his leg was blocked by a forearm and his ankle was grabbed in a vice-like grip. He had enough time to be surprised at the fact that the blonde brat was the one to block his attack before Kakashi delivered a side kick square to his chest that sent him skidding along the ground and into the river himself. I was wondering when you would come out of hiding. I was about to come in and get you, Arashi said. How did you know I was hiding? Tapping his ear slightly. Water clones don't have heartbeats, he said simply. You're starting to be a real pain in the boy, Zabuza growled out before getting to his feet and going through a chain of hand seals as Kakashi appeared before him. Kakashi was also going through hand seals. They both finished at the same time, announcing their jutsu. Water release. Water Dragon Bullet Jutsu. Water release. Water Dragon Bullet Jutsu. The two massive water dragons clashed together and fought for dominance briefly before they both dispersed. Is that all you can do, is copy me like a damn monkey? He yelled in anger. That moment of anger caused him as Arashi took it as an opportunity to appear next to a startled Zabuza with a bow staff, swinging it into his arm. Crack. The sound of a broken bone could be heard throughout the clearing as Zabuza was launched into a tree. Ah! Arashi was running across the water about to finish the fight with an overhead strike to crush Zabuza's skull when he pulled up short to avoid Senbon needles that were thrown at him. Appearing next to Zabuza was what appeared to be a mist hunter ninja, if the mask was anything to go by. This is not over, Konoha ninja, a soft voice behind the mask said before Zabuza was scooped up and they both left in a water shunshin. Damn it, they got away. Kakashi-sensei, how you doing? Arashi asked as he was back to the shore where Kakashi was already waiting. Better than I expected. After uncovering the Sharingan, it drains my chakra faster than I would like. Any more big jutsu after that water dragon would have had me laid out with chakra exhaustion, he said before turning to Tazuna. Even though they're gone, I'm not comfortable out here in the open. We'll collect Sasuke, then make our way to Tazuna's home. Later that night, after arriving at Tazuna's home and being introduced to his family, his daughter Tsunami was a beautiful woman in her late 20s with long black hair and soulful dark eyes. His grandson Inari was brooding child of about 8 or 9 with black hair covered with a white bucket hat, dark eyes, green overalls with a yellow shirt beneath it. When everyone was introduced, they gathered in the living room where Sakura was currently tending to Sasuke's wounds, minor though they were. When we found him, he looked like a porcupine with Senbon needles sticking out all around his body, he even had a few stuck in his. First of all, Sasuke, if you ever run off on your own again without orders from me, the next we have a mission outside the village, I'll send you back to the academy for remedial classes on teamwork, do you understand? Kakashi said in a no-nonsense tone. HN, was Sasuke's reply before he was hoisted in the air by his pissed-off teacher by his throat. You left the formation and left an opening that could have caused us the client's life. If the civilian council didn't kiss you would be bounced from the ranks for a stunt like that. I will not pander to your already massive ego and superiority complex. You will either follow orders or you will not survive in the field with me, Kakashi growled out, and when I speak to you, you will open your mouth and respond with words, you will not grunt at me like I'm one of your fans. Do you understand me, Genin? Yi. SS. A. Sasuke said as clear as possible. What? Yes, sensei, came Sasuke's strangled voice before Kakashi dropped him and moved back to his seat while Sasuke took greedy gulps of air. I apologize for that scene. Anyway, we're not done with Zabuza and his tagalong yet. They managed to get away, but with Zabuza's broken arm he won't be combat ready for quite some time unless he calls in reinforcements. Before that happens, we are going to track him down and finish what we started, and Gato as well. Before all that though, Sasuke, tell me how Zabuza's student fought. Coughing slightly, long-range fighter, Sasuke's voice came out almost as a whisper. He kept to the trees and surrounding bushes and launched Senbons from my blind spots. He's fast, but he never used any jutsu, so I don't know what element he uses. Alright, get some rest. Tomorrow, Sasuke. Sakura, I'll be upping your training. Arashi, you'll go to the bridge with Tazuna and guard him until I relieve you. Yes, sensei, was the reply from the three genins before they all moved to the stairs to their designated rooms. The next day. Okay, now the training I have in mind is a chakra control exercise. It's called tree climbing. The point of this exercise is to channel chakra into the soles of your feet and stick to the surface of the tree. After explaining, Kakashi approached a tree in the wooded area where he had gathered Sasuke and Sakura first thing after breakfast. He stopped in front of a fairly tall tree and made the ram hand seal. After finding the correct amount, he placed one foot then the other on the base of the tree and began to walk up it as if walking on the ground. Both Sasuke and Sakura gaped at this display. Chakra control is one of the most important and fundamental skills a ninja can possess. For example, if you take two people with an equal amount of chakra reserves and had them perform the same jutsu, I guarantee that the person who has better control could use that same jutsu more than the person who just poured chakra into it. A person with great chakra control can also use it to enhance other things like their speed or even their strength. After the explanation, Kakashi jumped out of the tree and approached his students. Any questions? Why isn't Arashi-san here for this training? Sakura asked. I know he hasn't been on the team long and I should have had Arashi introduce himself properly, but there hasn't been an opportunity, so I'll tell you a little about him. Arashi was trained outside of the village. He was born in the land of fire, and prior to joining Konoha 6 months ago he was a successful bounty hunter. He is beyond this level of training, and frankly the only reason he is here now is to gain experience working on a team. If you want to know more than that, you will have to ask him. Now approach a tree and get started. Mark your progress with a kunai, he said, pulling his favorite book out of his hip pouch and walking over to a nearby stump to get some reading in. A word of advice: too much chakra and you'll be blown off, too little and you won't stick at all. It wasn't even 10 minutes later that a voice of excitement sounded throughout the clearing. Hey Kakashi-sensei, this doesn't seem so hard, Sakura said from her spot about 30 feet off the ground sitting on a branch. Very good, Sakura. Now that your break is over, complete the exercise and get to the top, he said, pointing towards the canopy. Sakura looked towards the top of the tree and fought back a shiver at the height. Yes, sensei. When you reach the top, I want you to practice running up and down the tree until you can't do it anymore, then take a break and continue running. The reason it was so easy for you is because your reserves are small. The continuous exhaustion will build up your reserves. Sasuke, instead of a running start, lay down at the base and place your feet on the trunk and find the right amount that will allow you to stick to the tree and then go from there. A week later. It has been a week since the Konoha ninjas and their client arrived in Wave. Things have been mostly quiet with no sign of Gato or Zabuza. Sakura and Sasuke have both completed the tree walking exercise and were now in rotation with Arashi as bodyguards for Tazuna. Kakashi was trying to think of a way to track down Zabuza and his accomplice. While all this was going on, there was also a very tense atmosphere whenever Inari, Tazuna's grandson, was around. He just seemed to all the positive feelings out of the room. All the tension came to a head one evening at the dinner table. Why do you try so hard? You'll never beat someone like Gato. He's too strong and you're stupid for even trying. Arashi turned toward the speaker, which turned out to be Inari. So what does that make your grandfather? Is he stupid for trying to stop Gato? I don't think so. I think that makes him damn courageous to put his life on the line for his home and for his family. He's doing a hell of a lot more than you are. What do you know? You don't know what it's like to live here. If you go against Gato, you're just going to die like everyone else. Inari screamed with tears in his eyes. I'm tired of hearing your mouth. You think you're the only person to suffer. Try being poisoned, beaten and stabbed on a damn near daily basis. When you weren't being attacked, you were being glared at or ignored until the next time someone wanted to vent their frustration out on you. What about your grandfather? You don't think he suffers from the fact that every time he leaves you two alone, it might be the last time he sees you? You don't think your mom suffers the same way? They suffer, but unlike you, your mom still finds the strength to encourage Tazuna to do the right thing. You're nothing but a coward, and I'm tired of looking at you. With that said, Naruto used the leaf shunshin to leave a stunned and silent audience. It is him. Why wouldn't the Hokage tell me he came back? Kakashi thought to himself. With Naruto in the woods. That damn brat making me lose my control like that. It's shadow clone jutsu. Out of the smoke of the jutsu popped about 100 clones. Alright guys, let's burn off some of this energy. You got it, boss. Attack. Bring it. The next morning. Arashi suddenly sprang awake the next morning. It took him a moment to realize he was holding a struggling figure in an arm-lock submission hold. He couldn't see a face because his legs were stretched across the face of the person, adding a little more pressure to the hold. He growled out, "Who are you?" "I was just collecting herbs when I saw you sleeping. I was just going to wake you." Hearing the rushed explanation as well as the soft voice, Arashi immediately let the person go. Sitting up, he got a good look at the person whose arm he almost broke. He couldn't tell if it was a very feminine guy or a very beautiful girl. Long straight black hair, brown eyes and a choker around the neck. A low-cut pink sleeveless kimono and light brown sandals. While Arashi was studying his mystery guest, that person was also rethinking approaching the masked shinobi. Kami, my arm's on fire. What was I thinking approaching him? If he can keep up with Zabuza-sama, then he is indeed very formidable, were the thoughts of the stranger. I'm sorry for startling you, but it's a very dangerous time in Wave right now. I'm Haku, by the way. Arashi, sorry for that, but it's kind of a reflex, he said, gesturing toward the arm Haku was flexing, trying to get rid of the tingling sensations. So you said you were out here collecting herbs. You shouldn't venture out alone right now. Like you said, it's a very dangerous time. I usually avoid trouble by coming out in the early morning. I better get back to my collecting, said the now named Haku. Look, since I'm the reason you spilled your herbs, why don't I help you collect some more? It'll go a lot faster. Arashi offered. Thank you for your kind offer, Haku said, smiling a little. They went about collecting various herbs when Haku decided to break the silence. So I noticed your headband. You're a ninja, right? Yeah, I was out here letting off some steam last night. It was pretty late when I finally calmed down, so I decided to sleep out here. So Haku, how long have you lived in Wave? Not long, my guardian and I travel a lot and we sort of got stuck here. Haku replied. So what does your guardian do that requires so much travel? Haku hesitated for a moment before an answer came to mind. he's a craftsman of a particular art that is always in high demand. I don't practice it myself, so don't ask me to explain it to you. I hope being stuck in wave hasn't dulled his skills. It's getting pretty late, would you like me to walk you home? Arashi asked. Haku was quick to respond. No thank you, my guardian would not take it well if I showed a stranger where we were staying. Do you mind if I ask you something? As a shinobi, why do you fight? Arashi took a moment to ponder that question. Well, I guess it all started when I was a kid. I didn't have anyone for a while as a child and I always wanted to learn to defend myself. Now I fight because it's all I know. Do you consider yourself strong? Strong enough now, but I'm not nearly as strong as I want to be, Arashi answered back. I believe if you have people to protect someone precious to you, then you can become truly strong. That's a nice belief to have, and I think I already have some candidates for precious people. It was nice meeting you, Haku. Get home safely, he said before turning and walking away. You as well, Haku said before doing the same. Wait, Haku. This is just going to bug me until I know, are you a guy or a girl? I'm a guy, Haku said, chuckling and then laughing out loud when he noticed the paleness of the masked shinobi before he turned and continued his walk. At Tazuna's house all was quiet at the breakfast table. No one has seen Arashi or Inari since dinner the previous night. Tazuna and Tsunami were worried about the effects the young ninja's words would have on Inari. Sakura was curious about Arashi's childhood. Sasuke put the whole episode out of his mind already. If it didn't involve him here, Itachi, he didn't care. Kakashi was wondering how to approach Arashi with what he knew about him. They were all pulled from their thoughts by the sound of footsteps on the stairs. Coming down the stairs was Inari, only he was wearing something a lot different than his usual blue overalls and yellow shirt. He was wearing what looked to be an old pair of blue jeans, a white t-shirt with a black and red flannel jacket over top of it. In his hands looked to be a brand new pair of construction boots, and around his neck was a white towel similar to what Tazuna himself usually wears around his neck. However, the most noticeable thing about little Inari was the determined look in his young eyes. There was a fire there that neither Tazuna nor Tsunami had seen before. Tsunami was the first to get over her shock. Inari, honey, what are you wearing and where do you think you're going? I'm going to help Grandpa with the bridge. That Arashi guy was right, I haven't done anything to help. All I've been doing is acting like a coward. Well, from now on I'm going to do my part and help Grandpa with the bridge, and when he doesn't need me I'll help you around the house. No more crying and no more complaining. It's time to grow up, Inari said, his voice never wavering. There's nothing wrong with crying, especially if you're happy. The voice of Arashi startled everyone in the room because all attention was on Inari. No one saw him enter. Well, Inari, if you plan to put in a full day, I suggest you eat. You're going to need your energy. Following his own advice, Arashi sat down at the table and helped himself to some eggs, bacon and toast. I don't know if that's a traditional Japanese breakfast or not, so please don't make an issue out of it. Inari sat down next to Arashi and ate the same as he did. Kakashi-sensei, I had a little run-in this morning I think you should be aware of. He paused until his sensei gave him his full attention. I came across Zabuza's accomplice, or I should say his accomplice came across me asleep in a clearing this morning. I know he knew who I was, but I didn't let on that I knew who he was. We spoke for a while and I have a way to track them to their hideout. Kami willing it doesn't rain. Why didn't you just bring him here? We could have interrogated him to get Zabuza's location. I would have, but after speaking with him, he would have taken that location to the grave. He is extremely loyal to Zabuza, not like the demon brothers, Arashi explained. All right, here is the plan for today. Sasuke and Sakura will guard Tazuna and Inari. Arashi, you leave some clones here to guard Tsunami, while we track the accomplice to the hideout. No matter what, be back here no later than noon just in case we have to make any plans. After Kakashi laid out the orders for the day, everyone went about their business as usual. Tazuna left to go work on the bridge with Sasuke, Sakura and Inari following behind him. After leaving Tsunami with a couple of clones in the house and a few more spread throughout the property, Arashi led Kakashi to the spot where he encountered Haku. It didn't take long for Pakun, Kakashi's summoned dog, to track Haku back to a treehouse hideout. No doubt about it, the scent is up there, said Pakun. Pakun was a miniature pug with brown fur, a blue vest and a Konoha headband worn on top of his head. He also wore a white bandage around his right front leg. He had a deep gruff voice and was obsessed with the feeling of his paw pads. Thank you Pakun, you can return now, Kakashi said. See ya Kakashi, and with that he disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Alright, let's check the surroundings for traps and meet back here in an hour, Kakahi's ordered. Yes sensei, Arashi replied and disappeared into the foliage. 1 hour later. Well, anything? Kakashi asked when he returned from his own recon to find Arashi waiting for him. Nothing. Either Zabuza is that confident in his skills even after what we did to him, or he was never expecting us to come looking for him. How about you? Same here. No traps of any kind, not even an early warning system. I still say we approach with caution. What's the plan once we make contact? The plan is to get to Gato. I'm guessing Zabuza knows where his main base is. If Zabuza was still part of a hidden village and getting his orders from a cage, then this wouldn't be an option, but since he's in this for the money, maybe he can be reasoned with or paid more, Kakashi explained. Okay. So how do you want to get their attention? With subtlety. Inside the tree house, Haku was applying an herbal poultice to Zabuza's shoulder, which he had injured after he was hit into a tree. Zabuza-sama, with one arm broken and with the damage to the other, even with my skills it will be at least 3 weeks before you are a challenge to someone of Hitaki's skill. If you were to fight against him in this condition, you would surely die. And not just Kakashi either, the blonde brat as well. The demon of the mist growled out, if we can't beat them, we're going. Whatever he was going to say was cut off as 3 kunai flew through the front window near the door and stuck in the opposite wall. Zabuza and Haku had enough time to grab his massive sword Kubukiribocho, or the decapitating carving knife, and race out the door as the tree house exploded. Landing away from the debris of their hideout, Zabuza and Haku looked back at the devastation. Show yourselves, you bastards. I thought you said you wanted to get their attention with subtlety. Arashi groused while stepping out from the shadows of the surrounding forest. That was as subtle as a 6-foot sword being tossed at your head, Kakashi replied back. Touché. You just saved me the trouble of coming to find you, Kakashi, Zabuza said, taking a better grip on his sword. Don't make me call your bluff, Zabuza. I didn't come here to fight, I came to offer a proposition. What would you say to getting paid double what Gato offered to leave the bridge builder and his family alone? You think you can just buy me to walk away? Not a chance. Think about it, Zabuza-san. You were at 100% last time we fought. Now you can't perform jutsu, and with that injury to your sword shoulder your kenjutsu will be less than effective, Arashi cut in. Gato has the money, which we are going to get once you tell us where his main base is as well as what kind of protections he has, Kakashi said plainly. Are you really ready to say you ED yourself for Gato and also throw Haku's life away for him too? Zabuza thought about his options. Fight a battle I have no way of winning with my injuries, or roll over on Gato. To hell with it, I never liked that pig anyway. Heaving a sigh, his main base is on the north edge of the island. He has about 150 mercenaries around the clock. Gato's philosophy is quantity, not quality. Gato himself is not hard to spot. He looks like a goblin in a 3-piece suit and sunglasses. Bring the money to the place we had our first fight in the morning. You have a deal, Zabuza. It was nice seeing you again, Haku. Sorry about the explosive tag. Next time try knocking on the door, Haku replied with a grin. Later that night, after leaving Zabuza and Haku, the two made their way back to Tazuna's home and the meeting with Team 7 and their client. After the update on where things stood with Zabuza, Kakashi ordered everyone except himself and Arashi to stick close to the house for the remainder of the day. It was now about midnight and Kakashi and Arashi had been studying Gato's base most of the day, and it was confirmed as Gato preferring quantity over quality. Irregular and sloppy patrols seemed to be the norm. There seemed to be only 3 people who held any sway over the mercenaries Gato and his 2 samurai bodyguards. Whenever they weren't around, the men just sat around trying to out-tough each other and drinking. So Kakashi-sensei, how do you want to do this? Arashi asked. I think a couple of well-placed explosive notes a genjutsu here and there and liberal use of the Sharingan will have the desired effect on these goons outside. You handle Gato, as we have seen the only people allowed inside is his 2 bodyguards, so you shouldn't have any trouble, all the same be careful. Wait for my signal and then make your way up to Gato, Kakashi said. Yes sensei, Arashi replied before he disappeared in the shadows. With Gato. Gato was currently sitting back in his expensive leather chair, behind his expensive wooden desk smoking and drinking the finest cigar and sake money could buy. He built his reputation and empire around 2 human emotions, greed and fear. What one couldn't accomplish the other could. In his office with him are his 2 bodyguards Zori and Waraji. Zori was a young man in his mid-20s, he had bluish-white hair and black eyes with lines tattooed beneath them. His partner Waraji was a little older with brown hair and a short beard, he also had an eye patch over his right eye. Alright you two, once we get word on when that fool Zabuza is going to strike, I want you two to go and grab the bridge builder's daughter for some extra insurance, just in case the baby demon can't do his part. Bring her to the BR. He was interrupted by an explosion in the courtyard that shook his balcony doors. What the hell was that? Turning to face the direction of the disturbance, he was greeted by a figure running across his balcony about to crash through the glass doors. Letting out a girlish shriek, he ducked beneath his desk with enough time to avoid most of the broken glass, but also with enough time to see his 2 bodyguards hit the ground with a knife each protruding from their eyes. That's not a very good hiding spot considering I saw you duck under there, a cold voice said above him. Gato scrambled from beneath the desk and had enough time to see ice blue eyes before a foot connected to his face and his world went black. Arashi woke Gato from his mini nap the fastest way possible, a hard slap to the face. Wah! What happened? Gato mumbled as he regained consciousness. Hello Gato, you're probably wondering why you're tied face down on your desk with your pants around your ankles and you're in the air. No, it's not because I want you to get used to the feeling of prison life, it's because I want your undivided attention. You see this piece of paper? Arashi asked, holding up a standard explosive note. This is what we shinobi call an explosive note, it's pretty self-explanatory, right? He asked. Getting a nod from Gato, he continued. Good. Now one of these things placed in a strategic spot could level a good-sized building. You currently have 2 shoved up your and they don't get more strategic than that. Ignoring Gato's begging and whimpering, Arashi approached the shipping magnate and knelt down until they were face to face. You only have one chance, I want the deeds and money you stole from the people of Wave. Okay. In the basement behind the floor-to-ceiling map of the elemental nations is the vault. There are 2 keypads on opposite sides of the safe. The one on the left press 13745-247, on the right 758-12363. You have to input them at the same time, Gato said desperately. Thank you for your cooperation, was all Arashi said before heading for the door. Wait, I told you what you wanted to know, aren't you going to untie me? I don't recall making that offer, Arashi said coldly before leaving the room. In the hallway, ignoring Gato's screams, he channels some chakra into the exploding tags currently in the possession of Gato. The resulting explosion sent pieces off Gato into the hallway behind Arashi and pieces through the balcony door leading outside. With that done, Arashi made his way towards the basement to complete his part of the mission. 2 weeks later, the news of not only Gato's men but Gato himself disappearing overnight spread like wildfire the next day. With Gato gone and the deeds to lost homes and fishing boats turning up, the land of Wave was on its way to prosperity again. Zabuza and Haku also left after we paid them double what Gato had promised them, but Zabuza refused to leave without a promise of a rematch sometime in the future. With the spare hands of the rest of Wave and a good deal of clones, the Bridge of Hope was completed ahead of schedule. Team 7 now stood on the Bridge of Hope along with Tazuna, Tsunami, Inari and the rest of Wave to see them off. Well, this is it for us, Tazuna. Your bridge is built and Gato's not a problem anymore. Even without Gato, you're going to have your hands full getting your country back on its feet. Yes, it's going to be a long haul, but thanks to you and your team, we're well on our way. Arashi approached Inari and Tsunami, who were standing slightly behind Tazuna. Smiling down at Inari and ruffling his hair a little, you know, you're not so bad once I got to know you. A big step to growing up is protecting those people precious to you, so keep an eye on your mom and grandpa. Sniff. Sniff, alright, I can do that. Ha ha ha, don't you remember what I said 2 weeks ago? It's alright to cry if you're happy, Arashi said, smiling at the young boy before he approached Tsunami and wrapped the woman in a hug. He's going to be okay and I'll be back to visit as often as possible. Thank you, Arashi-kun, not just for helping my father and son but for helping me too. I hadn't realized how long I put my own life on hold before you showed me I was still a woman, not just a mother and a daughter, Tsunami said, blushing at some of the things they did together in the last 2 weeks. The pleasure was mutual, Tsunami-chan. Arashi, time to go, came the loud call of his pink teammate. I'll be seeing you, Tsunami-chan, that's a promise. Team 7 left Wave without a backwards glance, and once they were on the mainland they used ninja speed to make better time back to the village. Team 7 made it back to the village in half the time it took to get to Wave. Halt. What's your business here? A gate guard asked. Team 7 returning from C-rank mission, Kakashi stated. Proceed. With permission to enter, everyone went to the rooftops in order to get to the Hokage Tower quicker and be released for some downtime. Upon reaching the Hokage Tower, Kakashi turned to his team. I can handle the official report, you 3 are dismissed until further notice. Good, I need a drink, I'll see you later, Kakashi-sensei, Arashi said before walking off. Goodbye, Kakashi-sensei. I need a hot bath, Sakura said, too tired to even ask Sasuke for a date. I have some training to do, Sasuke uttered before heading off to the Uchiha district. With Arashi. Arashi barely made it past the front door of the Wet Leaf before he was tackled through the doors and back into the streets by a purple and tan blur. Arashi-kun, Anko said in a cooing voice, it's been almost a month since we've had some fun together and I've been known to get a little mean when my favorite toys are taken away, Anko said, rubbing her face against Arashi's masked cheek. Anko, give me an hour to relax and have a drink and we can have some time together, I really need a drink. Dealing with that Uchiha for a month straight is severely testing my resolve not to cut his throat and go missing, Nin, Arashi said. Ah, poor baby. Okay, you've earned your drink then, it's Anko time, she said, pulling him up and ushering him into the bar. The next morning, Naruto and Anko were awakened by a tapping on Anko's window by a messenger hawk. Anko disentangled herself from Naruto's arms. Yes, she knows, he really is a cuddler. Going to the window and retrieving the message from the bird, Anko scanned it halfway before going to Naruto and giving him the message. It's from Kakashi, he says you have a team meeting in an hour, she told him. Naruto read through the message himself, then used a small fire jutsu to destroy it. An hour to Kakashi means 4 hours in real time. I'm going to get some more sleep, he said, turning over and putting action to his words. I have a meeting, so I'm going to shower and get going. I'll see you later, she said, heading towards the bathroom. Naruto was now making his way towards Training Ground 7 across the rooftops of Konoha when he came across a strange scene below him. His teammate Sakura looked like she was trying to defuse a confrontation with some ninja he had never seen before. One was a guy in a black full-body jumpsuit holding a squirming kid in his hand and a blonde girl with 4 pigtails and a battle fan on her back. Better back her up before she gets herself hurt. Look, why don't you just drop the kid? Assaulting someone in a foreign village is a good way to start a whole lot of trouble over nothing, Sakura said, trying to defuse the situation with this sand shinobi. Shut up, Pinky. This brat ran into me and an apology just won't cut it. You better put me down or my knee-san is going to kick your. The squirming boy said. Oh, is that right? The sand shinobi asked mockingly. Kankuro. Wait a second, Tamari, I'm almost done here. The now named Kankuro dismissed his teammate's call. Kankuro. His teammate Tamari said a little more insistently. Not now, Tamari. Kankuro. Kankuro turned towards Tamari. What? And froze. Standing next to his sister was a ninja about 6 feet tall with blonde cornrows. He had a face mask that started from his nose to his neck and disappeared further down beneath a mesh shirt and an open black and white camouflaged flak jacket. What froze him in place was the fact that this guy had snuck up on him and had his arm across Tamari's shoulders, but what had his blood freezing was the fact that the hand connected to that same arm was holding a kunai to his sister's throat. Arashi. Ni-san. Came the surprised shout from Sakura and Konohamaru. How about a trade? You put my brother down nice and gently and I won't open this pretty girl's throat like a fountain. Arashi said casually as if talking about the weather. Tamari shivered at the casual way this person said he would her. Alright, just calm down, Kankuro said, lowering the kid to the ground. I'm perfectly calm, now get away from him, he said, taking his arm away from the girl and going over to Konohamaru. You okay, Kan? I'm fine, Ni-san. Good, you and your friends get back to class, we'll talk about why you felt the need to ditch later. Konohamaru and his two friends Moegi and Udon took off towards the academy while Arashi turned back to face the sand ninja. I would advise you to go to your hotel room and calm down from your journey. I can guarantee another attempt to assault the Hokage's grandson will not go unpunished. Kankuro paled behind his makeup at what he had almost done. Sasuke, if you and your friend would join us down here we could all be on our way, Arashi said, looking into a nearby tree. Sasuke knew he had been spotted by his teammate long before he had even spoken to him. What surprised him was the reference to a friend. What the hell is he talking about? Looking around, he almost fell out of the tree when he came face to face with an upside-down redhead looking him right in the face. Damn it. That's the second time that's happened. Sasuke thought to himself before jumping out of the tree, followed by the redhead who appeared in front of his teammates in a sand shunshin. Kankuro, you're an embarrassment to our village for pulling such a stunt, the redhead said in a monotone voice. I'm sorry, Gaara, I was just. Shut up or all you. I'm sorry for his behavior, it won't happen again. Come on. Wait a second, you with the gourd, who are you and what are you doing in our village? Sasuke asked, or more like demanded. I am Gaara of the desert, here for the Chunin exams. What is your name? The now named Gaara said everything in the same monotone voice, never raising or lowering it. I'm Sasuke Uchiha, Sasuke replied like he just declared himself Kami. I wasn't talking to you. You the blonde guy, what's your name? Arashi, and I will definitely see you in the exams, Gaara-san, Arashi said. I look forward to it, Gaara said before turning and walking away. He was walking aimlessly through the village when a whimpering sound brought him out of his thoughts. Stopping in his tracks and looking around, he realized that he had wandered into some unknown training grounds and the whimpers were coming from a forested area behind a bunch of marked up trees, probably used as targets for weapons throwing. Following the sound, he came upon a mostly all black puppy with a strip of white around its neck that looked like a collar. The puppy, upon seeing him, bared its fangs and got a feral look in its now noticeable all-white eyes. It tried to stand up to defend itself from a possible enemy but let out a yelp and collapsed back to the ground. Shish, easy fella, I'm not going to hurt you, just relax, Arashi said in a soothing voice. Getting closer to the pup, Arashi saw why he couldn't stand up as he saw a shuriken stuck in the right hind leg of the animal. Alright fella, looks like you got a little trouble there, Arashi said, still keeping to a calm tone. Arashi inched closer so as not to startle the animal and went down on a knee beside it. Moving his hand slowly towards the shuriken, Arashi was about to take a hold of it and pull it out when the little animal snapped his jaws at his fingers. Arashi pulled his hand back quickly and counted them to make sure he still had all his digits. Arashi looked into the white eyes of the black dog with a small glare. Look, nobody likes pain unless you're some kind of masochist, but I have to remove this and bandage it or you're not going to heal properly. Now let's try this again. I'm going to count to 3 and then I'm going to pull it out, so think of a happy place and grit your teeth cause it's going to happen. Looking into the dog's eyes and receiving what he could only interpret as a nod of agreement, Arashi started the countdown. 1, 2, 3. On 3, quick as a snake strike, Arashi yanked the shuriken out, getting a small yelp from the pup. Staunching the blood with some gauze from his vest pocket, Arashi applied a quick field dressing to the wound. This will do for now, best get you to a real doctor though, saying that he picked the dog up and disappeared in a swirl of leaves to the local vet's office. Arashi reappeared outside of a medium-sized white building with a wooden shingle hanging over the door that said, Konoha's Veterinarian Services. It was located more in the civilian side of the village for their convenience, since civilians rarely had a reason to wander in the shinobi section. Walking into the building with the little dog cradled in his arms, Arashi made his way to the empty front desk of the office. Not seeing anyone around, he rang the little bell on the desk for service. Hello. Got a patient for you. Is there a doctor in the house? Still not getting a response, Arashi walked over to a door with a sign that said, Employees Only, that lead further into the building. Opening the door, he was met by the sound of barking and chirping so loud he was surprised he hadn't ruptured his eardrums. Wincing at the noise, he quickly shut the door. They must have some kind of sound barrier set up. You must feel worse than I do with your hearing, Arashi said, looking down at the dog in his arms. Arf, arf, arf. All right. No need for that type of language. Brace yourself, we're going back in. Arashi went back to the door and took a moment to brace himself for the noise before he opened the door and went in. He made his way down the lit-up corridor, peeking into each room as he went. Most were examination rooms and a couple of supply closets. He was near the end of the hall when he looked into one room and stopped dead in his tracks at an amazing sight. It was one of the most perfectly heart-shaped he had ever laid eyes on. All he could see, all he was really looking at, was that perfection tight gray biker shorts. The other half of this person was inside a dog cage, apparently cleaning it out. Arashi was taking in every detail when a bite on the arm from the dog he was carrying brought him out of his dream world. Ahem. Excuse, I need some help here, he said. The person in the cage jumped at the sound of him clearing his throat and quickly backed out of the cage, stood up and turned around. Arashi was once again stunned, speechless for a moment. This woman was obviously an Inuzuka by the telltale red fang marks on her cheeks. Long brown hair held up in a ponytail with two bangs hanging down the front, round dark eyes set in the soft features of her face was remarkably beautiful. She was also wearing a black wife beater that did nothing to hide her generous C-cup. Shiro-kun, the lady exclaimed, darting forward and taking the puppy from Arashi's arms. Oh, Shiro-kun, where have you been, you poor little baby? Arashi was completely ignored as the Inuzuka women took the pup, apparently named Shiro, into one of the exam rooms down the hall. Not knowing what else to do, Arashi followed them to the room with enough time to catch the women consoling the injured animal. Does somebody have an owie? Don't worry, Hana's going to fix that right up for you, the now named Hana was saying as she unwrapped the field dressing and took a good look at the wound. So is Shiro going to be okay? Arashi asked. He's going to be fine. What happened? Hana asked the stranger. I was just walking around when I heard him whimpering. I found him in the woods behind some training grounds with a shuriken stuck in him. I dressed the wound and brought him here, Arashi explained. So his name is Shiro, huh? It's actually Shiromaru, he's a member of the Inuzuka clan and I believe we're in your debt for finding him. If left too long, this wound might have been infected. Who may I tell my clan head we are indebted to? Arashi approached the examination table where Hana was putting the finishing touches on a new bandage for Shiromaru. My name is Arashi and from what I have gleaned from you, you are Hana Inuzuka. It's a pleasure to meet you. Hana finished her bandage on Shiro and then took a good look at her guest. He was about 6 feet tall, blonde hair, blue eyes and indeterminate age because of the face mask. He stood tall and proud without a hint of arrogance in his posture. Hana felt a tingle go up her spine as a single word went through her mind as she looked at this man, Arashi, ALPHA. It's nice to meet you as well, Arashi. Thank you again for finding and helping Shiro-kun. He's the most curious pup at the compound, always wandering off somewhere, Hana said, rubbing the black ears of the now sleeping animal. I think as long as he stays clear of the training grounds he should do okay. I have to be going, Hannah. I hope to see you around sometime. We can talk about working off that debt, Arashi said, smiling as he left the room. Hannah felt the tingle along her spine even more at the hidden meaning in those words, anytime Arashi anytime. Later, Sarutobi compound. Dinner at the Sarutobi compound is always a small family affair when Hiruzen's schedule allowed it. At the small circular table right now were Arashi, Asuma, Konohamaru and Hiruzen. They were talking about a bunch of non-important things at the moment. The serious talk was reserved for after dinner when Konohamaru was out of the room. They were finishing up the meal when the subject of Arashi's first dinner at the Sarutobi compound came up. Flashback about 6 months ago. It was a couple of days after Arashi had returned to the village when he was invited to the Sarutobi compound for dinner. He was walking next to the Hokage the long way towards the compound. Sarutobi always liked to take a walk through the village after a long day. It helped to relieve the stress of wearing the hat and reminding him of why he took it in the first place. As they approached the front door, Sarutobi paused to give his dinner guest a word of caution. I have to warn you, my grandson Konohamaru can be a little hyper at times. Try to be a little patient with him if it gets to be too much, Sarutobi said before opening the door. Arashi followed right behind him and took a good look at the inside of the home. The front door opened into a hallway. About 15 feet from the door was an archway that led into a sitting area, and Arashi could see a set of stairs further along the hallway leading up. Sarutobi paused in the archway to announce his presence. Konohamaru, I'm home. As soon as the words were out of his mouth, smoke bombs filled the sitting area. Jumping in front of the Hokage, Arashi prepared to defend him from the surprise attack. Arashi focused his senses on the would-be attacker or attackers. Hearing a whistle through the air, Arashi shot his hand out and grabbed the airborne weapons. Feeling something off with them, he took a quick glance and was puzzled by the weapons. Wooden shurikens, what the hell? He focused back on his attacker when he heard a very childish voice shout, I got you this time, old man. Arashi focused on where the voice came from and saw a hazy figure in the still lingering smoke. Leaf Hurricane. When the figure, who could only be the Hokage's grandson Konohamaru, jumped in the air to perform the attack, Arashi darted into the smoke. As Arashi went into the smoke, the Hokage performed a small wind jutsu to clear the room. When it was clear enough to see, he saw his grandson hanging upside down from his ankle by Arashi, who was scratching his head with the wooden shuriken he confiscated from Konohamaru. So, I take it this is, Konohamaru, nice to meet you, I'm Arashi, Arashi said, smiling at the upside-down child. Konohamaru's sweat dropped at the nonchalant greeting. Put me down, you idiot, don't you know who I am? Konohamaru screamed. Oof, was the sound Konohamaru made as he was dropped on his head. Yeah, I know who you are, and as a member of the Sarutobi clan you should have better manners than to scream at a guest in your home, Arashi pointed out mildly. Hiruzen decided to step in before Konohamaru completely blew his top. Konohamaru, go and wash up for dinner, Arashi will be our guest tonight. Konohamaru blinked dumbly at his grandpa before switching back to the masked shinobi while still rubbing his head. All right, Gramps, he said before getting to his feet and leaving the room. Hyper isn't the right word to describe him, I would say he's more lively than hyper, Arashi said. Aren't they the same thing? Hiruzen asked curiously. Arashi shook his head. No, one sounds like an affliction and the other sounds like a compliment. Hiruzen decided to keep quiet on the subject and lead the young man into the dining area beyond the sitting room. It was a simple family setting, a small round table with 4 chairs around it. Dinner was also very simple: grilled beef, rice, veggies and soup. Konohamaru came into the room and everyone took their seats and tucked into the meal. It was quiet for a few minutes before the Hokage broke the silence. So Konohamaru, how was your training today? Boring. All sensei did was talk the whole time, not once did he show us any cool jutsu. Even Ebisu sensei refused to show me any cool jutsu. He said I had to master the basics first, Konohamaru said in a dejected tone. He's right, without the basics you have nothing to build on. All the greatest ninja you could name were masters of basic jutsus and using their knowledge of the basics and built on them to make the best use of them, Arashi interjected. What would you know, Blondie? Konohamaru said as he glared across the table at the masked guest. I was trained by 4 men who could actually call themselves true masters of the shinobi arts, and they drilled into me daily that to be great is to master the basics. Arashi explained. For example, if someone gave you a sword tomorrow, do you think just having that sword makes you a master swordsman? He asked. Before Konohamaru could answer, Arashi asked him another question. What's your dream, Konohamaru? What's your goal as a ninja? My goal is to defeat the old man and become Hokage. Ebisu sensei says with his training I'll take the shortcut to be our coming Hokage. Konohamaru exclaimed with fire in his eyes. Arashi looked across the table at the young boy with calm eyes. First, I think this Ebisu guy should be tarred and feathered and hung up by his ankles in the middle of the village for telling you something so stupid as to think there is some kind of shortcut to the respect and power a Kage wields. Arashi said calmly, there is no such thing as a shortcut to power. No amount of cool jutsu will make you Kage material. It takes a certain mental and spiritual fortitude to be a Kage. Can you imagine day after day, month after month, year after year the kind of conviction it takes to send people you've grown up with and people you've seen grow from babies to young men and women and send them out to defend the village knowing there's a possibility you will never see them again? Konohamaru was speechless as he listened to Arashi speak. He couldn't imagine sending Udon and Moegi out on some mission and then finding out that they had been. He could never forgive himself if that happened. Is that true, Gramps? Yes, it is. Being Hokage is more than being recognized as the strongest in the village. Being Hokage is asking yourself, are you mentally strong enough to do what is best for the village? The Hokage said. Konohamaru sat there in silence for a few minutes. Can I be excused? Receiving a nod from his grandpa, he went to his bedroom to think about if he really wanted to be Hokage after all. Sorry about that, Gigi. I didn't mean to hit him with the reality of wearing the hat like that, Arashi said. That's okay, Naruto-kun. I was going to explain it to him eventually. Maybe I was just scared of this type of reaction and my grandson hating me for taking away his dream, Hiruzen said sadly. That speech sounded like the one Tobirama-sensei gave me at one point when he was grooming me as Hokage. Yeah, that's where I got it from. I got a tad bit overconfident during my training sometimes. One time I claimed that as soon as I was done training I would come back here and challenge you for the Hokage title. Tobirama-sensei sat me down and explained in great detail the responsibilities that come with the job, Arashi said ruefully. Is your dream still to be Hokage? Hiruzen asked curiously. No, I haven't decided on a dream yet. I'll just follow the road of life and see where it takes me, he said, smiling. Do you mind if I go up and speak to Konohamaru? He asked. Hiruzen shook his head no. Upstairs, second door on the right. Rising from his chair, Arashi made his to the kid's room. Looking through the open door he saw Konohamaru sitting on the edge of his bed looking miserable. Knocking on the door frame to get his attention, he waited for the kid to look at him. Hey Konohamaru, you mind if I come in? Sure, he said, scooting over to make room for the blonde. Why do you want to become Hokage? Arashi asked. My name is Konohamaru. I was named after the village, but no one calls me Konohamaru. People always call me honorable grandson. I'm not ashamed to be the grandson of the Hokage, but I just wish people would call me by my name for a change. If I was Hokage, then people would see more than the honorable grandson of the third Hokage. After what you said earlier, it seems like a pretty selfish reason to be Hokage. Wanting people to know your name is not selfish at all. But there are other ways to do it besides being Hokage. Konohamaru looked at Arashi with a confused expression. What other ways? How about becoming a Sannin? They're just like cages but better. How can they be better than a cage? You're just trying to mess with me, Konohamaru said, glaring at the blonde. No, I'm not. Think about it. The Sannin are said to be just as strong the cages throughout the elemental nations. They're free to come and go from the village whenever they want, which means they have opportunities to always learn something new. Can you imagine the stories the Toad Sage or the Slug Princess could tell you about their travels? Now the Hokage, he's always stuck in boring meetings with the council or stuck doing boring paperwork. He barely has time to train and don't even think about getting laid, let alone dating someone. Where would you find the time? Arashi paused there because of the puzzled look on Konohamaru's face. Why do you mean getting laid? Getting laid where? Ahem. Ask your grandfather after I leave. I heard from an older shinobi who was around when the Hokage first took office. He said after a week he was completely gray from doing all the paperwork involved with being Hokage. Konohamaru looked scared out of his wits at the thought of going gray. The point is there are other ways to be recognized besides being Hokage. You're right, Arashi-san. Konohamaru Sarutobi will be the first ever monkey sage of Konoha. Konohamaru yelled with a renewed fire in his eyes. Good for you, Kon. I look forward to facing you one day, Arashi said, smiling. You can count on it. Don't think I forgot how you defeated me earlier. From now on we're rivals. Unknown to both Konohamaru and Arashi, Hiruzen had listened in on their talk, and though he perked up when Konohamaru declared he would be the first monkey sage, he still walked away with a storm cloud over his head after hearing Arashi's accurate description of his everyday life. I wasn't gray in a week, I was gray in 3 days. It took me a week just to finish the first round of paperwork, Hiruzen thought as he went back to the dinner table. Flashback end. After dinner, Konohamaru went to his room to study before bed while the other three went out to the back porch for self-indulgence, a cigarette and pipe for the Sarutobis and sake for Naruto. They were all content with the silence as each man indulged his own guilty pleasure, but they all knew that starting tomorrow was the beginning of something they had been preparing for 6 months, the invasion. Naruto, there is another reason I invited you to dinner tonight besides the fact that I like your company. Before the start of the 3rd round of the Chunin exams, I want to announce your return to the village as well as your lineage. What do you think about that? Hiruzen said, looking at the young shinobi calmly sipping his sake. Naruto was calm both on the inside and outside. It's fine with me, I was going to bring the subject up myself pretty soon. I already have plans in place if the council tries to give me a hard time, but what about you? Keeping a secret like this from the council for 6 months might get the hat taken away for good this time. I've been playing politics with these people for a long time. I'm not worried about that. I am, however, worried about their reaction towards you. Don't be Gigi. I was taught politics from the best and I can use the law like I can use a kunai, so don't worry yourself sick. I better be going. Long day tomorrow. Naruto drained the rest of his sake and bowing to both Asuma and Hiruzen left in a swirl of leaves. We both better get some rest, Pops. He's right, tomorrow is going to be a long day, Asuma said before finishing his cigarette and using a small fire jutsu to incinerate the butt before going inside. Hiruzen followed behind his son, thinking about what the future would hold for the village hidden in the leaves. The next day, Arashi was waiting at the front gates for his teammates to arrive. He had been there for almost a half hour waiting on them. He barely slept the night before because of the excitement of facing what he hoped to be strong opponents. Today he was wearing green tiger striped camouflage pants with matte black shin guards and black shinobi sandals. He was also wearing a sleeveless mesh shirt with a plain black sleeveless t-shirt over top of it. His arms were wrapped from wrist to elbow in black athletic tape, leaving his biceps exposed. He had his fingerless black gloves with the storage seals on the palm, shuriken on the left and kunais on the right. He was wearing a collarless flak jacket that matched his pants, and he was also wearing 2 hip pouches on the left and right side. He took out his cornrows and just put his hair in a simple ponytail with his headband still across his forehead. You're early. Arashi looked to his left and saw his teammate for the exams Sasuke Uchiha approach at a casual pace. Can't you feel the excitement, Sasuke? Better early than too late. Now all we need is Sakura and we can get to moving. Here she comes, Sasuke said, gesturing in the opposite direction he had come. Arashi turned to look, and sure enough there was the pink-haired Kunoichi. Hey Sakura, you ready for this? Arashi asked as she approached. As ready as I'll ever be, Arashi-san. Good morning, Sasuke-kun, Sakura replied. HN, was the response reserved for fangirls. Since we're all here, let's do it, Arashi said, walking through the gate with his teammates following behind him. Team 7 made their way in silence until they came up on a scene in the middle of the hallway. The door leading to the exam room was barred by two guys. One had spiky hair and 3 bandages on his lower face, and the other had brown hair and a blue bandana-style headband on. They were knocking around a guy in green spandex with a bowl cut and a girl in a pink Chinese shirt with her hair styled in 2 buns. Just let us through. We have to take the exam, the girl said. You think you're ready to be Chunin? Come back when you grow up. People die in these things, the one in the blue bandana said. Why don't you drop the genjutsu and stop cluttering the hall? We have an exam to take, Sasuke said. Arashi refused to face fault at the stupid arrogance of the Uchiha. If he knew, why did he open his mouth? You saw through that genjutsu, didn't you, Sakura? Sasuke asked the pinkett. Of course I did, Sasuke-kun. It was obvious, Sakura said. Arashi barely restrained himself from face-faulting at that obvious lie. Why don't you make me move, punk? The one with the spiky hair said before launching a kick at Sasuke, who threw a kick himself. Before either one could connect, the boy in the green spandex appeared in between them and caught both attacks. He's fast and strong, Arashi thought. Why don't you both save it for the exams? That is where the best will be determined. The bowl-cut guy said. Sasuke and the spiky-haired Stranber broke apart and regrouped before the spiky-hair guy and his friend took off down the hall out of sight. Way to go, Lee. It was your idea to hide our strength, remember? The person who spoke was obviously of the Hyuga clan with the trademark white eyes. He was wearing a black headband with 2 straps hanging from the sides and a khaki shirt and brown pants, with his right arm and leg wrapped in athletic tape. I'm sorry, Neji, Tenten, I forgot my own plan just that quickly, the now named Lee said by way of apology. Forget about it, Lee, the girl Tenten said. That plan wouldn't have lasted long anyway, Neji said, coming to stand next to his teammates and taking a good look at the other Genin team. His eyes wandered over both Sasuke and Sakura before dismissing them both. Before his eyes rested on the blonde shinobi. What's your name? Neji demanded. Arashi completely ignored the pale-eyed teenager and approached his lovely teammate. My name is Arashi. May I have the honor of knowing yours? He said. Tenten was stunned. Boys didn't flirt with her. They treated her like one of the guys. Most of the time they didn't even realize she was a girl. Higurashi. Tenten Higurashi. Nice to meet you, she said, sticking her hand to shake. Arashi grabbed her hand and brought it to his masked lips and kissed the back of it. Tenten's blush could put a red apple to shame. That is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen on a kunoichi, he said softly. Wah. What are you talking about? Tenten stammered. The calluses on your hands, they're beautiful, they show your dedication to training. It's the most beautiful and thing ever on a kunoichi. During Arashi and Tenten's introduction, Neji stood there stunned, first at being ignored and then as his teammate was turned into putty. Hey, I asked your name. No, you demanded my name. It's Arashi, by the way. Being from a noble clan, I could only assume they tried to teach you manners and the lessons just didn't take, Arashi said mildly. Know your place, commoner. Before Neji could register that Arashi had moved, he was staring eye to eye with a fly. Holding the fly by the wings with his fingertips was Arashi. Just remember, Hyuga, nobility doesn't mean a damn thing on the battlefield, only skill, Arashi said before letting the fly go. Tenten, it was a pleasure to meet you. I hope to get to know you in the future, Arashi said before making his way back to his teammates and continuing down the hall towards the 3rd floor. They were in an open area about to climb the stairs to the 3rd floor when they were stopped. Hold it right there, the green-clad genin said. You are Sasuke Uchiha, right? I wish to fight you, for the love of Sakura Haruno. The announced loudly. Sasuke smirked at the weird bowl-cut wearing genin. Sure, I could use a warm-up. We don't have time for this, Sasuke, Arashi warned. Don't worry, this won't take long, he assured his team. Fine, but don't take him lightly, it could end in embarrassment, Arashi warned. Doubtful, Sasuke said as he faced off with the strange genin known as Rock Lee. Even though you know who I am, you still no want to fight, that takes a lot of guts. We will see if you are still as confident when I beat you. A fair warning, out of all the Leaf genin participating in the exams today, I am the strongest and I'll prove it to you right now, Lee declared. The two opponents squared off against each other. Sasuke was in a casual stance, apparently not taking the match seriously, and Lee was in the opening stance of the strong fist style. He was turned sideways with his left arm behind his back and his right hand held out in a bring it on gesture, and Sasuke decided to bring it. He sprinted forward in an effort to catch his opponent off guard, and once he was in range he threw a right cross and connected with nothing as his opponent had disappeared in a display of speed. He reappeared above Sasuke already in mid-turn, Leaf Hurricane. Sasuke ducked under the roundhouse kick and following his opponent's movements held his hands in front of his face in a guard position. Rock Lee continued his rotation from the missed roundhouse and attacked with another kick from a crouching position that went straight through Sasuke's guard and nailed him in the face. Sasuke! Was Sakura's shout of surprise from watching Sasuke take the hit. Sasuke was thrown backwards by the power of the kick and laid on the ground stunned for a few moments. What was that? I know I held my guard up, Sasuke thought. If I had my Sharingan I would take this guy apart. Sak went back on the attack, throwing everything he could at his opponent. Jab, jab, right hook, sweep kick. Sasuke thought, but nothing worked. It was either blocked or avoided. Sasuke threw another right cross with everything he had in it, but it was caught and countered with an elbow to the stomach that sent him crashing into the wall behind him. Sasuke Uchiha, why do you not use your Sharingan? If you wish to beat me, that is the only way to do so. I don't need the Sharingan to beat you. Sasuke snarled and charged once again. I believe there are two types of ninja in this world. Those that are born with talent like you and those that have to train hard every day of their lives like me. I'll show you hard work beats natural talent any day of the week. Lee proclaimed before stopping Sasuke's charge with a spinning back kick to the chin that launched Sasuke into the air. Lee crouched on the ground and then vanished in a blur and reappeared beneath Sasuke's still floating body, dancing leaf shadow. Now you're finished, Lee said as the bandages around his arm began to unravel. Before they unraveled too much, a pinwheel pinned the end of the loose wrappings into the wall, surprising all those in the room. That's enough, Lee, a large red tortoise said. Oh no, this is bad, Lee said, throwing his body into a backflip to land on the ground in a crouching position before sprinting to kneel in front of the talking animal. Sasuke, too stunned by the events that just transpired, was saved from further injury when Sakura broke his fall. Arashi joined his two teammates as he watched the animal tear into the green glad genin. What were you thinking, Lee? You're forbidden from using that technique, especially on a fellow Leaf shinobi, you know that. I wasn't going to use it, I just got caught up in the fight, that's all, honest, Lee said, trying to defend himself. Silence. You think a lame excuse like that is going to fly? A shinobi never reveals his techniques unless absolutely necessary, and from watching this fight, it was completely uncalled for. That's such a basic rule, it should be tattooed on your brain. Now stand and prepare to take the punishment for your actions. Yes, sir, Lee said, resigned to his fate. Come on out, Guy-sensei. In a puff of smoke, a man appeared on the turtle's back. He was very tall and he was wearing a matching outfit to Lee's except no hand wraps, and he was wearing an unzipped Jonin flak jacket. He even matched Lee's bowl haircut and had way thicker eyebrows. Hey there, guys and gals, what's shaking? Guy-sensei said, standing proud with his hands on his hips and beaming a pearly white smile to all those in the room. He didn't get an answer as Team 7 was busy sweat dropping at the appearance of the original that Lee was cloned after. The silence didn't last long as Guy-sensei scolded his wayward student. I'm very disappointed in you, Lee. Are you ready for your punishment? Yes, Guy-sensei. Okay. You little idiot. Guy yelled as he punched Lee in the face and sent him skidding along the floor. When he stopped moving, Guy approached his downed student and looked at him with a river flowing from each eye. Lee looked at his sensei with the same expression on his face. Sensei, I'm so sorry. It's okay, Lee. I forgive you. Your youthful exploits are all a part of growing up. Brace yourselves, people, here it comes. Guy Sensei. Lee. Guy Sensei. Lee. Guy Sensei. Lee. Something bad is about to happen, turn away quick. Arashi said, but it was too late for his teammates. They were forced to witness the most exuberant man hug known to the world, complete with a sunset and crashing waves as a backdrop. Now Lee, give me 100 laps around the practice field as further punishment for disobeying orders. Yes, sir. Guy Sensei. Wait, what about the Chunin exams? There's no time for laps right now, Sakura said. Oh, I forgot about that. Make that 500 laps for also disrupting the Chunin exams. Guy said. Yes, Guy Sensei. Ah, Lee. I'm proud to be your sensei. Your flames of youth are inspiring, Guy said to his student with pride before finally taking notice of the other 3 people in the room. That has to be Kakashi's squad, Guy thought to himself. Hey, how's my old rival Kakashi doing? You know Kakashi Sensei? Sakura asked. Sure do. We're eternal rivals, have been for years, Guy stated before simply disappearing. My record is 50 wins and 49 losses, which is one better than Kakashi, he finished saying from behind Team 7. The facts of the matter is I'm stronger than Kakashi, faster too. Whoa, that was all speed. He didn't even use chakra to help him, Arashi thought. He's definitely faster than Kakashi, Sasuke thought. Guy Sensei is the greatest shinobi in the world, no one can defeat him. Lee exclaimed after his sensei's great show of speed. Enough, Lee, you all better get going before it's too late. Good luck, Lee. Show the world your flames of youth, my precious student. Yes, Guy Sensei. I will. Well, Guy Sensei, it was nice meeting you. Lee, how about after these exams we have a friendly spar? I'm a student of hard work myself. I would like to know which one of us has worked the hardest. My name's Arashi, by the way, Arashi said to Rock Lee. I would be honored to battle a fellow student of hard work, Arashi-san. Good, then it's a deal. After the exams, Arashi said before making his way to the stairs and up to the 3rd floor, followed by the rest of the team. I can't believe I lost to that freak. If I had the Sharingan, I would have wiped the floor with him, Sasuke growled out between clenched teeth. Not likely, Sasuke, Arashi said calmly. Who asked you? Didn't you see the scars on his hands when he took the wraps off? Some of those scars were fresh. I wouldn't be surprised if he was out training this very morning. He probably trains until he drops every day, and even with the Sharingan you would have trouble, Arashi explained. Whatever, was the Uchiha's response. As they rounded the corner, they stopped in surprise to see Kakashi leaning against the wall next to the door leading to the exam room. Kakashi Sensei, what are you doing here? Sakura asked. I'm here to wish you all good luck in the exams. I was also here to stop you if you showed up without the full team. I thought you said the exams were optional, Sakura said. They are optional as a team. I didn't want anyone pressured into participating before they were ready, but since you all showed up on your own, it doesn't matter anymore. Beyond this door is another step towards your future goals. Good luck, Kakashi said before disappearing in a cloud of smoke. Well, let's go. This exam isn't going to take itself, Arashi said, kicking the door in and striding through. As soon as he entered, he was blasted with ing intent strong enough to make a fly faint. This was nothing compared to the intent he felt from people like Zabuza or his own senseis. He glanced out the side of his eyes to see how Sasuke and Sakura were doing. Sasuke was shrugging it off with no effort, but Sakura was already shaking in her sandals. Remember what I said back in wave about intent, Sakura? Sakura looked into Arashi's calm blue eyes and remembered what he said back in wave about using your own intent to offset someone else's. Taking a moment to calm herself, she was about to think of something that would piss her off enough to shake off this intent when the answer landed in her lap, or more precisely on Sasuke's back. Oh, Sasuke-kun, I've missed you so much. Being apart for so long has been dreadful, Ino Yamanaka, Sakura's old friend and new rival, said from Sasuke's back. The intent was completely forgotten as she saw this. Back off, Ino, pigged Sasuke's mind. Well, if it isn't Miss Forehead, they let anyone into these exams apparently, Ino said in a haughty tone. They let pigs in here, don't they? What did you say, billboard brow? Ino demanded, glaring into Sakura's eyes. You heard me, Sakura said, glaring right back. Do you two have to be so loud and troublesome all the time? A lazy voice said, interrupting the screaming match. Mind your business, slacker. Ino snapped. It is my business. Your screaming match is bringing a lot of unwanted attention, the slacker pointed out. Ino and Sakura looked at the other participants in the room, and sure enough, all eyes were on them, and they didn't look too happy. Once Sakura stopped arguing with Ino,